Welcome back to Theories of Nutrition Behavior. Now we're going to have a brief presentation on settings of health behavior, also which very well may be nutrition behavior, but your book specifically calls it out as health behavior, and we will adapt it to be a little bit more focused on nutrition. So thinking about the settings and audiences for health behavior change, your book presents 7 major settings that are relevant to contemporary health behavior change. Number one, and should be the most come first to mind, are things like schools. Schools, whether it be elementary school, middle school, high school, or even college populations, are one of the most common because they have a relatively captive audience and a large group of people that are all of the same age, which makes schools a very unique place to have a potential high impact on health behavior change. Communities are also very broadly considered a health behavior change location. This is a unique place because communities often have a very strong identity. They have a very strong cultural context and characteristics. They might have a similar belief system or attitudes, values towards something. So this gives you a unique place to start with health behavior change because there's already this sort of consensus around cultural practices or community beliefs. Work sites are another one. Work sites are similar to communities in that there's often kind of an ingrained culture within that work site. The difference in work sites is you often have a variety of different kinds of people that are coming together. But work sites can be a really powerful place to implement things like worksite wellness programs that offer programs or education or support for their employees to become healthier. Individuals' homes are also a very common nutrition or health behavior change setting. The consumer marketplace, so thinking about the grocery store, convenience store, all kinds of other different marketplaces that we could potentially have an impact in helping support people make healthier behavior choices. And then last is the communications environment. So thinking about the messaging we put out around health behavior. All of these can be directly applied to nutrition in different nutrition settings, but here is sort of a brainstorm list of things that I have thought about for nutrition health behavior change. So one is schools and school-based programs. This very well could be in like a school garden setting. It also could be in a community health advisory setting. So thinking about those sort of community health programs that go into schools to be able to support both the students and the teachers. And another one could be community gardens. So thinking about how community gardens influence both the nutrition, health, and physical activity of the residents in the area. Healthcare settings, both clinics and also hospital systems. This is a place where often people need a lot of additional nutrition support to be able to create that ultimate health behavior change. So thinking about things like implementing a evidence-based diabetes education program at an outpatient clinic could be a really impactful way to influence both the nutrition as well as the health behavior of individuals. Community serving organizations, so things like YMCAs, Boys and Girls Clubs, potentially scouting groups within the area, have a unique kind of community base, but often these groups are also kind of like groups. So you would have a place to start with some of those nutrition behavior changes. Faith-based organizations can also be a really powerful place for nutrition and or health behavior change. And then one I was just thinking about is sports organizations. So thinking about youth sports or kind of social group sports. This could be potentially a way to access a group of people who are really interested in health, not necessarily from like a clinical health perspective, but they might be really interested in it for sports performance and improving their athletic abilities. And that might be something that could be of interest for different organizations. So when you're thinking about the setting and organization that you might be trying to help support some sort of nutrition behavior change, you do need to think about how those interventions or programs might be designed to help specifically target that program for an audience. So you're going to need to think about things like the health of the starting health of that group, the cultural context, social characteristics, so what people think, how they believe, how they're going to interact with food, what their beliefs and values are. So what are their ultimate goals? Is health an ultimate goal that they're interested in learning about? what kinds of skills they have. So if you're going to go in to a kindergarten class, is cooking skills something that's appropriate? Or are you going to need to think about other ways to incorporate nutrition and health behavior? So there are 4 primary dimensions that you want to characterize around your potential audience. First, you want to make sure you understand the socio-demographic characteristics of that group. The race ethnicity might be an important factor because this has a lot of influence over cultural context and attitudes and beliefs about food. Thinking about what life stage that person is in. So is that life, making sure that your intervention is tailored to that specific life stage. And then if there is a disease or risk state that you need to be aware of. All of these, thinking through each one of these dimensions with your target population can help you start to narrow down what might be the most appropriate strategy to create a nutrition behavior change. And this is actually what we're going to be doing as we move through the course. So I do want you to start thinking ahead to what populations you're interested in and what kinds of health behavior or nutrition behavior changes you might want to see. So as we move through the course and start presenting new theories of health behavior change, what I'm going to have you do is actually apply that theory to a nutrition behavior that you're interested in. So you're going to need to identify a nutrition behavior, what the population is that you're interested in supporting that nutrition behavior change in, and then how you would actually apply the different constructs or components of that theory to help you explain behavior within a population. So here's an example. One that I've thought about is an example of the theory of planned behavior. So what you see on the screen is actually a model. It's the logic model for theory of planned behavior. So you have these 3 different constructs: attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. And the theory suggests that these 3 constructs influence behavioral intention. So your intention to actually do a behavior, and that intention to do a behavior is what ultimately drives your final action of that behavior. So if I was interested in using theory of planned behavior and my nutrition behavior was increasing fruit and vegetable consumption among adolescents, I'm specifically interested in 6th to 8th graders because their healthy eating index score, according to sort of nationwide surveys, is one of the lowest out of any group of people that we see. So what I really want to do is increase that nutrition quality of diets among 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So the population I'm choosing is this group because their healthy eating index scores are the lowest among any age group. So there's a lot of evidence to suggest that we have pretty poor diets among this group, and there's a lot of room for improvement. My setting is going to be a local middle school that serves 6th to 8th graders. So what I'm going to need to do in this theory application is think about what the attitudes are that these 6th to 8th grade students might have about consumption of fruits and vegetables. I'm also going to need to think about what they believe their subjective norms are. So what do they think is normal? What do they interpret as valuable? How do they think about that environment of eating while at school, while at home? And then I also need to think about their perceived behavioral control. So what are some of the elements that a middle schooler has control over in their diet, and how can we use that to shape behavior change? So this is just an example, and we'll walk through each one of these behaviors as we get closer to it, or each one of these theories as we get closer to it. But I do want you to start thinking about one, kind of those nutrition behaviors that you're interested in, and what populations and settings you might think about creating nutrition interventions or programs. That will get you a long way in a head start on some of these later assignments.